NATO, however, poses an existential threat to Russia because of its policies and its intent. What the future holds is hopefully we can get a balance between, NATO recognizing that Russia is not positioned to threaten Europe and then adjust its behavior accordingly. But to do that, you have to understand Russia. You have to go to Russia, you have to talk to Russians, and this is what threatens the United States. I have gone to Russia, I have spoken to Russians, and I'm able to articulate, I think, an accurate representation of the Russian reality. And that representation flies in the face of the Russia that the West, the United States, Western media, have portrayed to an unwitting population who have bought into the notion that Russia is a threat worth confronting. There's a lot that needs to happen if peace is to break out. One of the first things that has to happen is that we need to inoculate this poison of this disease of Russophobia with truth. Ladies and gentlemen, as we dive into today's analysis, it's essential to recall the words of Mr. Scott Ritter, who has been vocal about the realities of this conflict and the overstated victories claimed by Ukraine. His perspective offers us a deeper understanding of the situation, especially when considering events like the downing of the Russian S70 drone. Ukrainian officials, with the full backing of the Western media, are celebrating this incident. They claim this is a massive victory for Kiev, a blow to Russia's high-tech air power. But is this really the case? Before the Western cheerleading reaches new heights, we need to pause and consider the broader implications of this incident. We are not just talking. The simple UAV S70 is a high-end piece of technology, and it doesn't operate alone. Alongside it flies the Su-57, Russia's most advanced fifth-generation stealth fighter jet. Together, these two machines form an incredibly dangerous pairing, one that has been wreaking havoc on Ukrainian positions for some time now. So while Ukraine may claim a tactical win, the true narrative here is far more complex. What makes this event even more significant is the depth of the S-70's infiltration. We're not just talking about a skirmish near the front line. This drone was operating deep in Ukrainian territory near Konstantinov in the Donetsk region, an area heavily defended by Ukrainian forces. The fact that it made it this far suggests that Russia is not only testing its limits, but also gathering critical intelligence that could shape future air campaigns. Let's be clear, this is not just another drone. The S-70 is still in its testing phase, and while losing it may seem like a blow, Russia is undoubtedly using these operations to refine its tactics and gather real-time data on how its aircraft perform in hostile environments. For Russia, this is an investment in future air superiority. And what about Ukraine? Their media may tout this as a victory, but in reality this incident should have them very worried. The S-70 is part of a much larger and more dangerous puzzle, one that involves Russia's steady dominance of the skies over Ukraine. This is just one piece of a bigger picture that's emerging in this conflict, a picture that heavily favors Russia's future plans. So, let's dive deeper into the mechanics of this lethal duo. How do the Su-57 and S-70 operate together, and why is this pairing so deadly for Ukraine? As noted by Inspector Scott Ritter, Russia's air dominance is becoming an ever greater factor in this conflict, particularly with the development of powerful combinations like the Su-57 and S-70. Together, they represent the forefront of Russian air warfare technology. The Su-57 is Russia's crown jewel in its Air Force arsenal, a fifth-generation fighter jet equipped with cutting-edge radar systems, advanced electronic warfare capabilities, and stealth features that allow it to operate almost undetected. It's like an airborne command center, guiding the S-70 on its missions, providing it with critical battlefield information, and ensuring it completes its objectives with minimal exposure to enemy defenses. But the Su-57 is much more than just an escort for the S-70. It's armed with precision weapons that can target both air and ground threats from far beyond the reach of Ukrainian air defenses. For example, it can carry the Kh-69 missile, a stealthy air-to-ground weapon capable of neutralizing high-value targets like heavily defended military installations without ever being detected. The combination of its stealth features and its powerful arsenal makes the Su-57 a nightmare for Ukrainian forces. And then there's the S-70, an unmanned heavy UAV designed to carry stealth missiles and guided bombs. This isn't just any drone. It's built specifically for high-risk, high-value missions, operating deep behind enemy lines to strike critical infrastructure or key military targets. What makes the S70 so dangerous is that it can conduct these missions under the radar, quite literally, without being detected by most of Ukraine's air defense systems. Together, these two machines form a highly coordinated and flexible strike team. The Su-57 can jam enemy radar systems, ensuring the S-70 has a clear path to its target. And even if the mission goes wrong, if the S-70 is detected or faces technical issues, the Su-57 can step in, eliminating any threat or even self-destructing the S-70 to prevent its technology from being captured. This dynamic allows Russia to maintain absolute control over its air assets, no matter the situation. This pairing isn't just about brute force, it's about intelligence, strategy, and precision. The S-70 can be seen as an extension of the Su-57's capabilities, allowing Russia to carry out complex air operations that Ukraine simply doesn't have the means to counter. Now, let's talk about the incident over Donetsk. How did the S-70 get lost, and how did Russia and Ukraine respond to the situation? Inspector Scott Ritter has repeatedly pointed out the complexities behind battlefield reports, and this incident over Donetsk is no exception. The S-70 stealth drone was reportedly operating under the supervision of the Su-57. According to initial reports from Ukrainian sources, the drone entered Ukrainian airspace near Konstantinov, where it was allegedly shot down by Ukrainian anti-aircraft defenses. The Western media quickly picked up the story, spinning it as a major victory against Russia's advanced air capabilities. But, as with most battlefield reports, the truth is far more complex. More complex other sources suggest that the S-70 went rogue, likely due to a technical malfunction or perhaps electronic interference from NATO's advanced warfare systems. The drone veered off course and flew uncontrollably into heavily defended Ukrainian airspace. Rather than letting this advanced piece of technology fall into enemy hands, Russia made a calculated decision. The Su-57 operating nearby took action and shut down the S-70 to prevent any sensitive technology from being captured by Ukrainian forces. This was not a panic response. This was a deliberate tactical choice. Russia values its military secrets far more than any single piece of hardware, and this decision ensured that no critical information could be compromised. It's worth noting that this isn't the first time Russia has employed such tactics when equipment risks capture. The priority is always to safeguard intelligence. For Ukraine, this was a symbolic victory, a small win they can showcase to their people and their Western backers. But in the grander scheme, this loss means little to Russia. The S-70 is still in its experimental phase, and each operation, successful or not, provides valuable data that Russia can use to further refine its air capabilities. In fact, Russian defense analysts are already pointing out that incidents like these are opportunities to improve, not setbacks. The real story here is Russia's control over the situation. By ensuring that the S-70 was neutralized on their terms, Russia demonstrated that it still holds the upper hand. This is not the loss that Ukraine and its media would have you believe. It's a calculated response in a much larger game of chess, one where Russia continues to maintain control over the skies. What does this event mean for the broader battlefield? Let's examine the impact that this tactical duo is having on the ongoing war and what it means for the future of Ukrainian defenses. As Inspector Scott Ritter has frequently argued, victories in modern warfare are not always what they seem. The downing of the S-70 is unlikely to have any real effect on the battlefield. In fact, Russia's continued development and use of these advanced air assets are giving it an undeniable advantage in the ongoing conflict. The skies over Ukraine are becoming more dangerous by the day, and Ukraine's air defenses are stretched to the breaking point, struggling to cope with the sheer volume and sophistication of Russian airstrikes. The Su-57 and S-70 aren't just tools of destruction, they're weapons of psychological warfare. Every time these aircraft enter Ukrainian airspace, they send a clear message: Russia can strike anywhere, at any time. Ukraine's air defense systems, though bolstered by Western technology, simply aren't capable of dealing with such advanced threats. Consider the HIMARS systems that Ukraine has been using. They've been effective, yes, but they operate in a very different way. HIMARS systems sneak out of their hiding places, fire a few rockets, and disappear again. It's effective for guerrilla-style attacks, but it lacks the sustained firepower and strategic depth that the Su-57 and S-70 combo brings to the table. Russia's drones and fighter jets can stay in the sky for longer, attack more precisely, and hit targets that HIMARS simply can't reach. And it's not just about striking military targets. In recent months, Russia has used its Su-57s to destroy key infrastructure deep inside Ukraine. Just this past summer, and Su-57 launched a Kh-69 missile that obliterated the Trolley thermal power plant in Kiev. This was no small facility. It powered 1.8 million homes. With one strike, Russia crippled Ukraine's energy supply, leaving millions in the dark. And that's just one example. In the last 7 months, Su-57s have launched more than 30 strikes across Ukraine, targeting everything from radar installations to energy plants. For Ukraine, this constant bombardment is devastating. Every time Russia strikes, it forces Ukraine to spread its air defenses thinner and thinner, creating gaps that the Su-57 and S70 are all too eager to exploit. The precision of these strikes is also key. Unlike conventional bombardment, which can be random and destructive, Russia's advanced air assets allow them to pick and choose high-value targets, crippling Ukraine's war effort one strike at a time. So what does this mean for the future of the war? As Russia refines its air tactics and builds its fleet of Su-57s and S-70s, Ukraine will face an increasingly difficult battle for control of the skies. As Inspector Scott Ritter has often emphasized, air superiority can turn the tide of a conflict, and Russia's air dominance is becoming an undeniable force. The Su-57s have become a regular presence in the skies over Ukraine, and their effectiveness is only increasing. In just the past 7 months, these jets have conducted over 40 missions, firing more than 30 cruise missiles, including the high-precision Kh-69. These strikes have not only destroyed Ukrainian military targets, but have also crippled key civilian infrastructure, adding pressure on Ukraine's war effort and on its people. The combination of stealth, advanced missiles, and real-time battlefield intelligence makes the Su-57 a game-changer in modern warfare. And as Russia continues to produce more of these jets, Ukraine will find itself increasingly vulnerable to precision strikes that leave little room for counteraction. The downing of the S-70 is a reminder that Russia's air force is not infallible, but it's also a sign of how far Ukraine has to go before it can truly challenge Russian air superiority. What's even more concerning for Ukraine is that Russia is not only increasing the number of Su-57s in its fleet, but is also ramping up production of the S-70. This means that in the near future, Russia will have even more of these lethal pairs in operation, capable of conducting strikes across a wider range of targets. And as their technology improves, their ability to evade Ukrainian defenses will only increase. The downing of a single S-70, then, is not the victory that Ukraine would like to claim. Instead, it's a glimpse into a future where Russia's air dominance becomes even more pronounced, with Ukraine struggling to defend against an increasingly advanced and aggressive adversary. So, what does the future hold for air warfare in this conflict? Let's look ahead and consider the implications of Russia's growing air power. As Inspector Scott Ritter has repeatedly stated, air warfare is evolving, and the Su-57 and S-70 are at the forefront of this transformation. This deadly combination is already proving its worth on the battlefield, and as Russia continues to refine its tactics and expand its fleet, Ukraine will face a nearly impossible challenge in defending its skies. For Ukraine, the downing of the S-70 may have provided a brief morale boost, but it's a small consolation in the face of Russia's expanding air power. Every day that passes sees Russia gaining more control over the skies, and with that control comes the ability to strike at will, anywhere, anytime. The future of air warfare is clear precision, stealth, and overwhelming firepower. And for now, Russia holds the upper hand. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned as we continue to monitor these developments because the air war over Ukraine is far from finished.